right, welcome on into another episode of Oh So Curious. As always, well, it's DCU Daily on Oh So Curious. As always, we've got lots to talk about. There's some news from the world of DC. Was there a new Superman screening? There were some reports out there. Are they for real? We're going to talk about them. Of course, Lanterns is coming up soon. It's still filming. And now the creators of the show, and actually one of the directors from the show, who's got quite the pedigree himself, and he's been talking about how Lanterns will continue to give us a bit of that cosmic magic of the mythos of these characters, while still being, of course, largely being a grounded story that takes place on Earth. So we will talk about that on the DC side of things. Of course, we have the big news that the Legend of Zelda live action movie now has a release date. We'll get into that. I'm excited about that. I know a bunch of folks who would be very, and a really cute doggy who's gonna love that piece of news. And then, of course, we have some Marvel news as always. There's rumors that Blade might have found a new director after all. And you know what? In the world of superheroes, we do not just talk about DC and Marvel. We also get into Bollywood news sometimes, because Bollywood's probably most recognizable homegrown superhero, well, he's coming back to a screen near you soon, and that movie has found itself a director as well. So you have to talk about that and so much more. And to do that, let's get the show started.
It doesn't seem to matter what I do. I'm always number two.
All right, Mr. I need to paint my abs on to get nominated. You don't see Robert Downey doing that.
You're kidding.
You're
kidding. I can't open the envelope without the...
Warner Brothers is heading back into the Matrix with a new movie in the works.
Wonder what other surprises are in store.
I want to be Bruce Wayne.
I like that. You're gonna love me.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see chords.
Right there.
You look ridiculous.
Well, not no more, he don't.
What, dude? I can barely understand you. Your accent's insane.
What the
Give me a hand up. Nope, I'm actually okay. Thank you very much. Oh, wow. Wow.
All right, it's time to talk about the news. Of course, as I mentioned before, that news intro, we've got a lot of fun topics today, as always. Not as many as we usually do. Cocoa Puffs does not sponsor the show, by the way. I just was eating cereal earlier, so pay no attention to the box of cereal back there on the couch. But hey, do pay attention to my co-host, as always. John, how are you doing today?
I'm no longer in the basement. I'm on the top floor again. But I am gonna need a new computer because my fucking video card is shot and it's overheating my computer. So gonna need to buy another computer. So my piece of shit laptop is gonna go the way of the dinosaurs. But that's gonna be a while, and hopefully it doesn't crap out on me in the meantime. So yeah, great.
You got some laundry back there too on the left.
Oh yeah, I always have like I have so much shit on that chair. Like, it's not cereal though, but like, hey, I might, but do I have? I actually usually have snacks down here, but I don't right now. I ate the M&Ms before I got on. Dan was taking too long, so I just fucking go on the M&Ms that I had. So.
Wow.
No snacks.
Sorry, I took a little. You know what? I'll be honest with you guys. This has been one long weekend.
Yeah, that do be how it is.
Yeah, at one point this week, tonight at one point, I was like, I just need to just lie down and freaking go to bed because.
Oh, derpy. Hey.
Yeah. Oh, hey, hello. There you go.
Hey. Double stroke in action. I'm the beard man. Yeah.
I'll stroke my beard too, but it's already gone a bit weird here. So let's get the show started with the first piece of news. Of course, the big news of the day in Hollywood is that Legend of Zelda, the the live action movie has finally got itself a release date and a director. It's gonna be coming out in March of 2027. The release date is now confirmed. I will give you an exact date in a second, but of course we now know it's coming out in basically what amounts to, you know, the early spring and a couple of years from now, more or less, because yeah, we're still in March of 2025, so it's 2 years out almost to the day. Wes Ball, who directed last year's Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, is set to direct this movie for Sony. It's a feature adaptation, of course, of the popular Nintendo video game franchise. You guys might have also seen, I usually, or every so often, I have Zelda on the show, who's a really cute little tricolor Pembroke Welsh Corgi. And so this is going to be one of those movies that I will be going to see on day one. And probably even day zero. Like, as soon as it's out, or an early fan screening, this will be popular in my circles, in my household. So John, now that we have a director and a release date, March 26, 2027, literally 2 years from now, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, the whole package, it's basically the biggest thing potentially Nintendo might have ever attempted, even because you talk about the Super Mario Bros. Movie that came out a couple of years ago, and that was the highest grossing movie of the year until Barbie overtook it, but it still made over $1 billion. And then everybody was like, where do you go next? Do you make another Super Mario movie? Do you make a Legend of Zelda film? And they decided, you know, we're going to do a Legend of Zelda movie. And instead of going the animation route, they're going the live action route here. So my question to you would be, what are your thoughts on the director, the release date, given that now we have a 2-year time frame for this? Chances are they've already been working on this, which is why they've already been able to give it a release date. But then the second question would be, do you have any, you know, idea as to which game story they might want to adapt, or do you think they're just gonna maybe just take inspiration from the games and kind of do something a little more original for the film?
So I was apprehensive when the announcement for this came out, because apparently, like, the writer was one of the writers for Rise of Skywalker. Not great. The producer, I think Avi Arad might be reproducing it, Strike 2. And Wes Ball gives me some hope because he did such a great job with Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. But the sequel to Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is supposed to also come out in 2027. So is he doing both, or is he only doing this? Which has me now worried about the Planet of the Apes sequel, because he did a really good job with that, and I would have wanted him to come back to do that. And if he's not, that's worrisome for that franchise as well. So I'm really, really, really profoundly skeptical about this, because, again, Sony as well, that doesn't help matters either, which is ironic because it's a Nintendo property, yet Sony's producing it. Go figure.
Yeah, that is interesting. It's not like a PlayStation Studios thing, right? Because Nintendo is sort of taking this approach where they're like, we've got these franchises, and then we will shop them around to the studio that gives us the best package. So obviously with the Super Mario Bros, they went to Illumination, which is a house under Universal, basically Comcast, NBC, Universal. And with this movie, that you would essentially, yeah, like you said, Sony. So we're used to seeing PlayStation Studios properties there because they've got a whole studio set up for it. But this obviously would be a different situation. Still, I mean, hey, look, I get your point about Wes Ball now potentially not directing the next Planet of the Apes movie, but it's not like they can't find another director. That was his first movie that he directed in that franchise. So we've had 3 other movies come in before that, and 2 other directors who handled those 3 movies. So if they were to bring in a 4th director for the modern iteration of the franchise, I mean, so far, none of them have really missed the mark. And the CGI just keeps getting better and better, because it's like Veta just, like, you know, keeps just flexing on us every time. It's like how much, just literally how much. I keep watching like the VFX breakdowns, and then just watch the freaking movie, like when the orangutan is in the water and getting pulled away like by the riptide. It's crazy how real it looks. The movement is one thing, but just the way like the orangutan hair interacts with water. Water is one of the hardest things to replicate in CGI. It's like, it's that Avatar level of stuff, because it's the same studio doing it, Veta FX. So yeah, and then those guys in New Zealand like do some of the best, you know, visual effects of ever. And at this point, they've brought the groundbreaking VFX of those chimps and apes to a point where people are starting to take it for granted. Like people actually pay attention to like how good was the movie. Like let's not worry about the VFX. We know they got that part down. But yeah, I mean, look, Vest Ball. If it is a matter of they pull him off that movie to work on this one, I don't blame them because quite frankly, here's the thing: if this live action Legend of Zelda movie hits, it will be a bigger movie. Like by far and away, this movie, Legend of Zelda, would be $1 billion franchise that can spawn a whole series of sequels, spin-offs, whatever, maybe even like a TV series. Whereas Planet of the Apes, we know, is limited in scope to like they're doing a series of movies and they probably don't want to like overextend it too much. And it's not like those movies make $1 billion a piece. They basically make somewhere between 400 to 600 million, which seems to be like the sweet spot.
Yeah,
They've kind of found that niche.
I
So,
mean,
I don't blame them if West Ball is being pulled off that for this, because this has got a much higher ceiling.
well, allegedly, according to IMDb trivia, now it could be total bullshit because, again, as we were just talking about yesterday, anybody can edit Wikipedia. But according to the trivia, West Ball and Shigeru Miyamoto have apparently been trying to get this off the ground for a decade. So that's, that's could mean something. And he had a Studio Ghibli aesthetic in mind for the movie, so that's definitely interesting.
Okay, I could imagine that.
It's just for me, I'm just so like on the, I'm so like just on the fence about it because it's like it's lined up to have some. Yeah, exactly. I've seen like so many people concerned about it. It's like it's gonna be like a Minecraft movie kind of levels where it's like could be good, could be bad, and then when that first trailer hits, we're gonna all judge it, and it's gonna most likely be what the Minecraft movie is now, which is huge raging dumpster fire that looks like a pile of CGI garbage. So I can imagine that like it'll probably take inspiration from the newest games because that's what people know, like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. So I would imagine that they would, because that's kind of a Ghibli aesthetic a little bit. So I can imagine them taking those, like that tone, maybe a bits and pieces of that story, and then kind of use it for the film. Also, I'm really curious how they're gonna make Link doesn't talk. So are they gonna fucking break that rule and he's just gonna like start talking, which I know is gonna piss people off, or are they gonna like stay true where he's just like the silent protagonist and somehow make it work? Kind of like what they did with Hardcore Henry, but I don't know.
Yeah, you know what? Here's my thing. If you're gonna make this a live action movie, you have to make it somewhat. I mean, yes, they're gonna get fantastical. This could be something that feels like a more fantastic, like like you said, live action Studio Ghibli, Lord of the Rings-esque sort of a crossover. But at the same time, you have to make certain things believable that you can get away with the animation without having to do. And I think having Link talk is gonna cause a stir when they initially see it. But once you watch the movie, it's kind of like Chris Pratt voicing Mario. You're not gonna notice it after a little while. You're like, okay, it makes sense. I get it. This is where they're going with this. So I think he's gonna talk in the game or in the movie rather. So, by the way, what do you think about Trey Daniels casting potentially Hunter Schafer, maybe playing live action Zelda? Hands down, it could. But he's also agreeing it should have been Universal making this. What were your thoughts on that potential fan casting?
Well, I don't know how that would work. I don't know if they would be uncomfortable with that because Link is a boy, Hunter Schafer is a transgender woman. So I don't know if they would be comfortable like playing a male character. Don't get me wrong, the look is there, but I don't know. It's kind of a touchy thing with some transgender. Like I know that they're an actor, but I wouldn't want them to like play something that would make them uncomfortable or remind them of their like dead life. I don't know what that would be called, but like prior to transition. Right. So don't get me wrong, I could see where you're coming from, like in terms of look, and I've heard she's great on Euphoria and all that, but I don't know if that would like make them uncomfortable in any way, shape, or form. So I don't know about that. Although I think Caleb like jokingly mentioned Tom Holland. Or no, Derpy did. Actually, Caleb isn't here right now. That's crazy.
That is crazy.
So, well, Trey Daniel also said, because she's literally perfect. She even admitted it on. Okay, if they're okay with it, then cool. I just wasn't sure if they themselves mentioned it. Like, oh yeah, I'm perfect for Link. Then cool, great, awesome, cast them. It'll fucking cause the internet to fucking literally explode and everyone to like boycott the movie. But like, fuck it, I don't care. Anything to make bigots angry. That's half the fun, right? So
Yeah.
if they say they're cool with it, if they have shown that they are okay with playing that character and would want to, sure, done. West Ball, do it, make it happen. But yeah, I can imagine them taking like a lot of influence from the newest games.
Yeah.
Maybe with like a touch of like the older stuff and the lore from those, but probably mainly do something new with it. I could see them doing that. Twilight Princess would also probably, if they want to go for like gritty dark, which I don't think West Ball wants to do, but if they do, Twilight Princess will probably be a good one. But yeah, I'm really on the fence about this because it all just really depends. Like, if West Ball stays true to the games, true to the lore, true to a lot of stuff, then we could be getting something really great. But I don't trust the writer, Derek Connolly, whose best movie is Kong Skull Island and Safety Not Guaranteed. Everything else, story by or screenplay by credits, have been really bad. So I don't really trust him on that respect. I trust West Ball. I don't trust the writer. And I don't know. I heard Avi Arad was producing it, which makes sense because it would be a Sony production. So I think Avi Arad is producing it. So that also really doesn't give me any hope for this movie. I want it to be good because Legend of Zelda is such an illustrious franchise, great world, great like a lot of great games. There you go, Caleb. Boom.
Here's the thing though. Here's what I'll say regarding the Avi Arad stuff, right? You gotta get it's kind of like Kevin Feige, for example. Like, they all will have movies that are good and bad, right? Yeah, you can blame him for like, okay, so chances are it's gonna be bad, but he's also the one who's overseen all these Spider-Verse movies, right? Like, so I don't think it's like just because he's producing it's gonna be crap or anything. I think here, yes, the writer is a point of concern. Obviously, I think West Ball helps because you have somebody who's going to come in with a vision, who wants to do this, who's been trying to get this off the ground for a while, like you said. And then also, I think the casting is going to be the key because you can really sell this movie, even if it is less than, great. If you have fantastic casting, it could still push it over the top because the fan base for this game and franchise is so huge. I don't think they need to make the best movie of the year. They just need to make a good movie. Like, it doesn't need to be the best thing that you've ever seen.
The thing is, it does, consider it's the first Legend of Zelda movie we're ever going to get. So it really does need, because this is the standard that all future Legend of Zelda movies are going to live up to. Like, there was a great video like fucking 10 years ago when somebody was making a video when Aquaman was announced with Jason Momoa, how they were explaining like, well, this is going to be the first Aquaman movie. This is the standard that every future Aquaman movie is going to live up to. So you got to really try to make like Superman the movie, Batman 89, Wonder Woman, Aquaman. I know it's a DC thing, but hey, this is a DC show, so it works.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
It's going to have that standard. You don't want the first movie with a first adaptation of a world or a character or a franchise to be dog shit, because then you get Green Lantern and the Flash, which suck. So, and then, because look, again, going back to our boy, Troy Oboyo 17, he recently made a video on Green Lantern, how he said Green Lantern was fucking killing it for like a decade. And then the movie came out and it shit the bed, which caused DC to go on their heels and be like, well, Green Lantern sucks. Everybody hates Green Lantern because the movie tanked. So we can't do anything right with Green Lantern, blah, 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 blah. And it only took another fucking decade and a half to finally get something Green Lantern live action again. And maybe treat the character seriously, but it's been in the shitter because of that movie. The Flash, I mean, thank God for the Absolute Universe, but the Flash is kind of in the same way where they just can't get off of that hit. But even that,
I hear you. But again, look, I think for me, this is gonna be one of those projects where obviously Sony and Nintendo's very protective of their properties, right? So them going with Sony, they must have presented them with a package and with a set of ideas that Nintendo was like, this is going to work. We like it. We think this is in line with what we would expect to be done here with the story and the characters that we are putting out there. So I trust that Nintendo making this choice, they did all the right things and scrutinized the right aspects. And like I said, the casting is going to be big. Like, for example, I think having watched her in The Gorge and pretty much every other movie that she does, Anya Taylor-Joy, I think could be a perfect fit for playing Zelda. Like she could be just perfect for that role. Like you can almost Photoshop that together and it would look natural. Like she's got the eyes, like that would perfectly match. And especially like in live action, I don't think there could be anybody who's a better fit necessarily. And then the rest of the cast, I suppose it will kind of take care of itself. But yeah, you got to make sure that you get like Link and Zelda right, and we have already talked about the two of them. But guys, let us know in the comments down below.
Also, I fucked up. Trey Daniel was talking about Zelda, Schaefer as Zelda, not Schaefer as Link. I don't know why, because I think I saw Caleb's comment that said Tom Holland as Link.
Okay.
And then I looked up and I saw Schaefer, and I think I mixed the two. I'm sorry. But yeah, Schaefer as Zelda, that would be great. I thought you said Schaefer as Link. I'm like, I don't know I think that would be problematic. But no, you meant something different. I read it wrong. That was my apologies. But before we move on, Figure Drawing actually had a question, and that takes to this. But in your opinion, do you think a Metroid live action movie seems smart? That is an IP that I think would work in live action. Space horror. Yeah. Fucking get like, who's a good, I don't know, fucking Guillermo del Toro to direct it? Probably not. Maybe Bong Joon-ho. That could be a good
you know what? That would be fantastic. I think Bong Joon-ho should like take over.
Just don't get Brie Larson to fucking play Samus. Get a bitch who can act, please.
Brie Larson is an Oscar-winning actress. I don't know. Like, I think the hate is a little.
She hasn't given a fuck in the last 10 years.
But she doesn't do a lot of movies, and I mean, I realize some of her stuff with Marvel hasn't been the greatest, and it's not like her character necessarily tests you as an actor all that much. Like Captain Marvel is like this stoic actor. I don't know the character in the universe, but I digress. As far as the Legend of Zelda live action movie goes, it's set to now come out on March 26th, 2027. So it's only like it's 2 years away. March 26th, 2027 is literally 2 years away from when we're doing the show. So I can't wait for this. It can't be here soon enough. It's already checked off on my calendar. I'm excited to see when they announce the casting for this. And of course, I hope that we get concept art and all kinds of behind the scenes looks, because it's going to be interesting. How did they realize just the fantastical nature of not just the characters, but the landscapes and everything you see in the games? How do you bring that to life in live action? That's going to be just wonderful to see. So hopefully it becomes something that is amazing and worth a watch. Sony's going to be making it. Wes Ball is the one directing it, and of course Nintendo is working with Sony on the project. So we are looking forward to it. Let us know in the comments down below, guys, what you think about the Legend of Zelda live action movie coming out in March of 2027. So in the meantime, let's move on to the next topic, John. So as you've been talking about recently, Avengers Doomsday, of course, they announced a whole set of cast members. None of the chairs with all the many names included the name of one Spider-Man, aka Tom Holland. But he does have another Spider-Man movie coming out that's gonna release between the release dates for Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars. It goes into production later this year after he's done filming The Odyssey. Now, there was a report from your favorite insider over in Hollywood, the Insnider, Jeff Snyder, that is. And he was reporting in one of his newer newsletters that Spider-Man 4 will reportedly take place during the events of Avengers Doomsday, and because of that, Tom Holland's Spider-Man will reportedly not appear in Avengers Doomsday at all. Like, it's not like they excluded him from this round of announcements, because yesterday we talked about how Marvel's replied to RDJ on Instagram saying there's always room for more, aka like they might be announcing more cast members before the movie comes out, not just the ones we already know. But according to this report, even if they were to announce more additional cast members, none of them will be Tom Holland. Do you believe this report? Do you think it makes sense, like the logic behind it? What are your thoughts on this news?
No, I don't believe it because Jeff Snyder is posting about it. But it would make sense as to why he was not there, because it takes place here. And exactly. But it wouldn't shock me if he's not in Doomsday, but they're saving him for Secret Wars, because that's like gonna, as I've been keep saying, that's the big adaptation he had a big role in that book. Well, at least the original, well, both books, but both stories. So I think, I think that would make sense if he's on Doomsday, but I don't think this is the reason why. I think it's like maybe I think he's just taking advantage of the fact that he was not announced with the rest of them, and he's like, oh, time to make up some bullshit. And here's
the thing. I will disagree with you on this part. Here's the thing. Jeff Snyder doesn't get everything right, but I think this part here makes some level of sense, right? Because as of right now, the prevailing theory based on the cast members they've announced officially for Avengers Doomsday, the leading theory for what the story of that movie is basically that it's going to be an incursion that happens, like what we kind of got a hint of. Well, we actually saw it happen in the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness movie, and this incursion is going to bring the X-Men universe and the Avengers, the mainline MCU universe, in conflict with each other. And as a result of that fighting, I guess Doom is involved in there somehow, whether he's on one side or the other, or his universe is destroyed, or whatever the case might be. That's gonna lead into then, whatever happens at the end of the movie, like one universe gets destroyed, or maybe both get destroyed. Then you end up in Battle World for Secret Wars, which again, comic book all the pieces would fit in terms of the inspirations, and is that what the direction that they're going in. Having said that, if Tom Holland's Spider-Man is just doing friendly neighborhood Spider-Man things, it would make sense that he's not part of that whole situation. But at the same time, it's like every time a big event happens in the MCU, at least in the past Avengers movies, it takes place somewhere around New York. So kind of like in Avengers Infinity War, Tom Holland is like going on a school trip, and all of a sudden then he's fighting Thanos's minions and heading off into space. So I would say, based on the current theories for Avengers Doomsday, if those are to be believed, and then the idea was thrown around that this next Spider-Man movie will be much more of a street level film, and you might get Daredevil in there and some of these other New York based characters, the Defenders. I'm saying, like, if that's indeed all of true, whether it's what I said for Avengers Doomsday as well as that more street level Spider-Man idea, then these pieces fit. And I feel like at that point this feels like an accurate report. Obviously, we don't have a ton to go off of this early, because we haven't started filming. They haven't started rolling cameras in the new Spider-Man movie, and even though they are rolling cameras on Avengers Doomsday, much of it is behind sound stages. So that's where I stand on this. I feel like this is a little more believable given the context of everything else we know about both the Doomsday, Secret Wars, or at least what's currently the leading prevailing theories for those. And then when you think about, they wanted to do a more grounded version of this movie, even though Sony necessarily didn't, but Marvel, wanted a more grounded version of Spider-Man. So, I mean, do you believe that, John? And also, I mean, if it is going to be a grounded version of Spider-Man, do you think that's better for this character? Like, we've been seeing multiverse things for the last, I don't know how long.
Can we stop with the fucking multiverse shit with Spider-Man? It feels like the only shit we've been getting for the past, like, 5 years of this character is just like fucking multiverse shit. And it's like, all right, I'm kind of sick of it. Like, Into the Spider-Verse was good, and then they're like, let's double down on this and do it for everything. Then obviously they had to continue it for the sequel for Across, and then they did it for No Way Home, and now it's just, and now they're kind of continuing on that path, and it's just like, let's just give it a break, please, and move on, and let's make him make Spider-Man grounded again, as grounded as you could possibly make it.
No, I hear you. I agree with you. By the way, Caleb, I think cats are fantastic creatures, although they will shoo you away half the time, but still. Caleb is saying apparently the first half of Spider-Man 4 will be street-based, while the second half is multiverse stuff. What is your source, Caleb? We would like to know what your source says and how reliable they might be or might not be. Enterprising saying the Spider-Verse has lost its charm because of the dumbass spin-offs like Madam Web. Well, the Spider-Verse those aren't the spin-offs. Those are the Sony Spider-Verse of movies. It's not like the Tom Holland Spider-Man exists in that universe. At least it's not as far as they have insinuated. So, yeah, okay, Caleb is just guessing. All right, well, see, you can't say apparently if you're just guessing. It's like you should say I think. I think that's a more accurate way to go about it. By the way, earlier in the chat, Caleb was saying just because I like animals doesn't mean I want to put things inside of them. I found an article earlier today.
Fuck are you guys talking about?
I don't know.
In this chat?
I don't know about whatever they're talking about, but here's the thing: I found
something
article
about small
today.
pee movies, bro.
No,
it's
so weird. But basically, I found an article on the internet earlier today from I think it was Popular Mechanics. No, it was the Smithsonian magazine, and they were talking about scientists have found basically what was like a fly-like creature preserved in amber, which apparently had like a mechanism in its butt that was like a Venus flytrap kind of a mechanism, where it literally, apparently they're guessing that insect would fly backwards in towards its prey, grab it, and like an insect, and then with this Venus flytrap butt, and then put its own eggs inside or on those insects, and then they would grow on its prey. And I was like, this sounds like something straight out of an alien movie, and I'm not joking. This is a real thing. Look it up on the internet. This was out in the Smithsonian today. I was like, oh god, that looks crazy. Like if that was actually a thing. I mean, I don't even think this creature exists anymore. It was like frozen in amber and some archaeological record that they found. But anyway, Spider-Man. If you're scared of spiders, don't watch this movie. But Spider-Man 4 comes out a little over a year from now. They start filming in a few months. Apparently, Tom Holland is not going to be in either of the Avengers movie, or at least not Doomsday. We don't know about Secret Wars. He's probably going to be in Secret Wars. Let's be honest. They're probably going to have everybody in Secret Wars. But let us know what you guys think. Do you guys believe the rumors? Do you guys believe the story from Jeff Snyder saying that based on what he knows so far, Tom Holland is not only not announced yet for Avengers Doomsday, he will not be announced at all because he's not going to be in that movie at all. So yeah, let us know down in the comments below what you think about that. In the meantime, John, we have to switch gears because we're done with the news stories, and now we have to move on.
Well, not totally done. We're just moving on to the wonderful quick hits.
There we go. All right, now speaking of Nintendo earlier, Legend of Zelda is getting a live action movie. Well, Nintendo is also set to put out a Nintendo Switch 2 DOS, and it's set to come out now in June of 2025, aka this year, summer of this year. So the pre-orders apparently are going to be starting up on April the 9th. If you guys are familiar with all the rumors for what this new console is going to be like, I, for one, am excited for all the upgrades this is going to have versus the original Nintendo Switch. So I can't wait for it. I think I might, actually grab myself one because I've never personally owned a Nintendo Switch, but I've got, friends and family who do. But I have a feeling it's going to be a popular one. So I'm excited. April 9th, I'll be looking out. Maybe I'll get myself a pre-order. But yeah, June of this year.
Although there's going to be a lot of fighting. I mean, the man with his popcorn is going to be watching. All the pre-orders are probably gone by now. So like once this, like even though it's not out yet, the pre-orders are still gone. It's not going to happen until April 9th, but it's still going to be gone before you even do it. But I just love when it comes to Nintendo, just like this, calling it the Switch 2. I just love Nintendo's amazing tradition of having the absolute worst game naming recognition you could possibly have. Like Switch 2, Fucking really? We're going the way of PlayStation, just like 2, 3, 4. Like, come on. It's like, but it's like, to be fair, nobody, like, at least like Nintendo has been like you couldn't think of anything better. Like, here's the thing. They had the Nintendo Entertainment System. What do we call next? The Super Nintendo Entertainment System.
The Power Rangers philosophy for naming things.
What do we call this thing that has 64 bits? I don't know. Put 64 in the title. Nintendo 64. Yeah, that works. And then, like, yeah, we have this gaming system. Kind of looks like a cube. GameCube. And then, like, Wii was kind of creative, and the Switch were kind of creative, and then they kind of ruined it with the Wii U, and then Switch.
That was stupid.
So it's like, I mean, like, come on, at least kind of be creative. Like Xbox is just a chaotic evil when it comes to their names. They just don't give a flying fuck. It went from Xbox to 360 back to 1, and now it's Series X. Like, giving no fucks about it.
It's not selling well either. Apparently, Xbox Series X or S, whatever the new series sales, are lagging behind the previous Xbox One sales. Meanwhile, PS5 sales are ahead of the PS4 sales. So, I mean, hey, it looks like, you know, PlayStation is firmly winning the current generation of consoles, the war of the consoles, as it were. But John, I have an idea. Imagine if you advertise the launch of this in the voice of Jason Statham, you know, as in, I'm not just a Nintendo Switch, I'm the Nintendo Switch 2. That's the way you sell it.
Yeah, I'm not just the Nintendo Switch. No, that doesn't sound. I'm not just the Switch, I'm the Switch 2.
That's it. That's all you need. That's all you need. And then, you know, millions of consoles sold. I'll be honest with you. Look, here's the thing. Regardless of what we say, we know this thing is gonna sell well. Nintendo Switch 2 is gonna be the first new console Nintendo's put out in a long time, and a lot of people feel like this is overdue. So I can't wait for this to come out, and I like I said, will probably get myself one as well. Even though I haven't owned a Nintendo console in quite a while. The last one I owned was a Nintendo Wii. I love playing Wii Sports. You know, tennis, golf, or bowling. Like, you know, every time you go, you throw it backwards and the people spin behind you. Like, I love Wii Sports. So. And Wii Boxing, that was actually quite a workout. So I can't wait. Nintendo Switch 2. It's one of those consoles that actually still prioritizes in-person multiplayer gaming. And I think it's great because it encourages
it's like
actually interacting with other people rather than sitting and talking on your headset to somebody across the world, which I'm not saying is a bad thing. I just think we need more, you know, in-person human interaction, and the Nintendo consoles have always
like for Mario Party, and then by the end you just want to fucking choke out a bitch, and the friendship is ruined. Multiplayer, in-person multiplayer, only from Nintendo.
No, but you know what? And the next thing you know, you're sharing a bag of Doritos. So, and then it's, you know, it's all good. It's all good. Yeah, Frisbee Golf and Wii Resort was also pretty fun. All right, guys, moving on to the next quick hit. Now, this is the story that, quite frankly, made my day. I know Legend of Zelda is a fantastic piece of news, but on a more personal level, I can't wait for this. I've been waiting for this for years, like literally years. I don't know, it's been maybe a decade at least since the last movie came out in this franchise. That's right. Hollywood isn't the only you know, in film industry that's got a monopoly on superheroes, because Bollywood's got one of their own, and their most popular superhero, Krrish, is getting its 4th movie. Hrithik Roshan, the star of the franchise, who's basically pictured right there. He plays the hero, he plays the alter ego, he even plays the father of the superhero, so they look alike. He's now for the first time taken over the directorial duties, and will also be his very first movie that he directs. His directorial debut. Krrish 4 is being produced by Yash Raj Films, which is probably one of the biggest studios. It's like the Disney of Bollywood. And the interesting thing is, Yash Raj Films did not produce the previous 3 films. It was always under the banner of the Rakesh Roshan, which is he's the father of Hrithik Roshan, who's produced and directed the first 3 movies. So it was under their studio, and now it looks like they've brought on a bigger studio to take care of this. And yeah, I mean, this is a blockbuster franchise. Every time they put out a movie, it's for a family audience. John, I know you probably have no idea what any of this is, but I
Yep.
encourage you to go check this out because, yeah, I mean, Hrithik Roshan taken over for the, not just starring in the leading role, of course. Now he's also going to be directing, so I can't wait for this. I mean, the very first movie in this franchise came out all the way back in 2003, I believe, Koi Milga, which is basically a mix of E.T. and then a little bit of like what would you call it? What's the movie with Michelle Yeoh where all the ninjas are flying in the air? Why am I forgetting?
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. It's like if you combine that with E.T., that's what Koi Milga is. And then they went to the second movie was Krrish, which is this image actually is from that Krrish movie in 2006, and there's a lot of sequences in that which feel like anime because the action is shot like that. It doesn't need to be believable. And then they went from Krrish to Krrish 3, so people were like, wait, what happened to Krrish 2? And now they're like, it's gonna be Krrish 4. So there we go. But this movie has finally got a release date. It's got a director who's also happens to be the lead actor, Hrithik Roshan. So I can't wait for this. John, I mean, do you have any comment on this? Is this remotely of interest to you? Because this is the fourth film in the franchise that doesn't happen to be DC or Marvel.
I don't really fucking care. Sorry. I just included this so you could nerd out for a bit, but I couldn't care less.
Thank you. No, you didn't include it. I included it.
No, but I could have stricken it from the rundown. I could have stricken it from the record.
I would have still talked about it. There's no way I was not gonna talk about this. This is very exciting. I can't wait for this. I literally, like, he's been in my top 5 of like superhero characters for a very long time growing up. So I can't wait for the next movie. Hopefully, I will say the previous Krrish movie was not a very like the believability of it kind of waned as opposed to the first 2 films. So I hope this next one kind of grounds it a little bit. The last one felt like the Batman and Robin of the franchise, where it was really made for the kids and it kind of went way too over the top. So I hope that they kind of pull and they said that they need to probably pull things back a little bit in terms of the fantastical nature of the story. But hopefully we'll get to see not only that, but I mean, even better VFX than before. This is like the first movie they're putting out in this franchise, and I don't know, like, oh wow, 2013 was when the last movie came out, and this is gonna come out in 2026, so 13 years apart. There you go. The fact that the same actor keeps playing the character is amazing. The staying power of this man. He's basically the Hugh Jackman of this franchise. Has been playing the same character, or basically 2 characters, but the same actor playing the lead in the franchise for, by the time this movie comes out, 23 years. So there you go.
I just love how the mask just looks like Batman's cowl went through a paper shredder.
Well, there's a story behind how he gets the mask, but I won't bore you with it. But if you watched Krrish, the second movie in the franchise, that kind of explains how all that happens. Yeah. Well, hey, Krrish 4 finally happening. There was a fake trailer for this out years ago that everybody thought was real, and now this is actually real. So I can't wait. I cannot wait. It's only a year away. They don't mess around in Bollywood, man. All right. So Blade, speaking of, till he's 90, Blade reportedly has enlisted the John Wick franchise director. And we're talking about not David Leitch, because that's who I was thinking of earlier. We're talking about Chad Stahelski, who's directed all 4 John Wick movies up until this point. And wasn't he the one, or was it him, or was it David Leitch who came in and did all the additional photography for Ballerina? So it looks
Stahelski did.
Stahelski. Okay, so Stahelski is also
you fucking brain.
Whatever. Stahelski. He's coming apparently. So this is not confirmed. So rumor mill is how you would probably describe this. Take it with a grain of salt. And apparently Cary Fukunaga was also in contention last year, which we hadn't heard of him until this point. Are you surprised by the idea that they might be signing up Chad Stahelski to do this, and then also that Cary Fukunaga was attached to this at one point in time?
I mean, that could be surprising, but apparently they booted him because he's really hard to work with, which makes sense because dude's had a lot of allegations against him in recent memory. So yeah, that kind of tracks up, and he did do the last James Bond movie, so he's not against doing major IPs, but I can't see him directing a Marvel movie. But What the fuck are you talking about? What?
He's writing an ode to you, John. Steven is singing to you.
Oh, whatever. But yeah, I think it's, you know, if this is not from Jeff Snyder, it would hold water a little bit. But like, I don't fucking believe anything from this goddamn movie, because it's like, I don't believe this fucking movie's happening, because they just can't seem to figure out guy kills vampires. For some reason, they can make Eternals, but they can't figure out guy killing vampires. Like, Ryan Coogler is like doing this shit without an IP and is doing fine, but like, yeah, that would be great. I think Midnight Suns could. That was another rumor that they were gonna ditch Blade and do a Midnight Suns movie instead, bring back like Ghost Rider and all these other characters. So yeah, honestly, I would honestly prefer a Midnight Suns movie, because I don't think they could do a proper Blade movie ever again. So I would say fuck it, just do even if it is Chad Stahelski, even if this is real and he is possibly doing it, I would say just do Midnight Suns, because it's way cooler anyway.
Yeah, I mean, the question is, you know, this is real, this is me, it's exactly how it's supposed to be. I don't know. I'm getting in the singing mood as Steven is giving us all these lyrics in the chat, but as it says in the article there were rumblings last month that the John Wick director Chad Stahelski could be in line to helm the reboot. The latest draft was written by Michael Green and Eric Pearson, and according to the Insider, of course your favorite Jeff Snyder, John, he's emerged as a frontrunner to finally bring Blade back to theater. So apparently they might have finally finished the script, which was also a problem before, that the script wasn't just constantly being, you know, thrown out and then started all over again. So maybe that's what's leading to them finally nailing down a director. It's not confirmed. This is still a bit of a rumor, or, you know, I don't know if it was a rumor or a report, whatever you want to call the Insider stuff, but yeah. But he also did say Cary Fukunaga was attached at some point, but he's famously difficult to work with. So Marvel was looking for somebody who was a bit more studio friendly, and of course, you know, Chad Stahelski's done a lot of studio stuff with Lionsgate for the John Wick franchise. So we know that Fukunaga has now gone on to work on that Blood on Snow indie thriller. So there we go. But John, before we finish talking about this, I wanted to kind of look at what Chad Stahelski's got on his docket already. Like, look at this. I was watching another show today, and they were talking about how he's got 11 movies coming up. I'm like, what? And it's true. I mean, Highlander, for example, is the one he's currently focused on, as far as I know. And him and Henry Cavill are both incredibly passionate about Highlander, so it makes sense that he's definitely going to do that. I have no idea how many of these other movies are actually going to end up with Chad behind the director's chair. But Ghost of Tsushima, I imagine that's one that he wants to probably continue working on. Black Samurai, Vice City, Rain, Sandman, Slim, Rainbow Six sounds like a cool one. The Killer Be Killed, Gangster of
Yeah, I know he's definitely doing Highlander, because they're like,
so
they were filming that for like a hot sec, and then Henry Cavill's like, fuck, I gotta go do Voltron. So then he went off and did that. But honestly, like, fuck it, this dude is like one of the best action directors working today. So it's like, and I don't want to see him just doing John Wick movies, because I think he's more talented than that than just sticking with one franchise. Not saying that's a bad thing, because I do love the John Wick franchise, but I would love to see Highlander from him, and Ghosts of Tsushima, and Vice City if it's a GTA miniseries.
Dude, imagine. That's what I think in my mind. It's like, oh my god, are they making a GTA live action movie? If they do, they need to do it from like that same perspective, like, you know, where the camera hovers over you, like that. Was it Corridor Crew put out that live action film where they shot it that way, where it's like basically a drone following the man as he does all the things, like beating up random dudes, driving a car. I would love to see that. That would be so fantastic. It would be like the most high resolution version of a GTA game cutscene that you would have ever seen, and just turn that into a movie. I mean, and you know what you can do? You can have Jason Statham be the lead in that. he's just another man.
Hell yeah.
But John, yeah, Chad Stahelski is a busy man, and between Highlander and Ghost of Tsushima alone, those are two huge movies. I don't know how he makes time on his schedule to actually work on the next Blade or.
I mean, look
Blade
at James
movie from
Gunn.
Marvel. So, I mean, but even James Gunn is taking a break right now from doing that. He's prepping his next project, but it's not like he's out there trying to make literally another feature-length movie right after he's done filming both Peacemaker and Superman. So I just don't know if he's gonna have time on his calendar. Like, a director might be involved in a movie for up to a year and a half, 2 years longer, and between just Highlander and Ghost of Tsushima, and for all we know, he's done the last 4 John Wick movies. I imagine he might be involved in some level with John Wick 5, much like he was involved in all that additional photography for Ballerina as well. So while this sounds on the surface like fantastic news, I'm so glad that they finally found a director for Blade and they have a finished script. Chad Stahelski is a very busy man, so I just don't know how much of this, if this will actually come true, right? Like we were talking about how, what's his name? Colin Farrell potentially wants to take on the role of Sergeant Rock, but he's got other projects, and if there's scheduling conflicts, he might not be able to sign on. There's other like Chris Pratt might not be in Avengers Doomsday because he has that Terminal List show that might provide him some scheduling conflicts. So there's all kinds of scheduling conflicts that come in the way of actors trying to like sign on to movies, not to mention directors. So yeah, as much as we'd like for Chad Stahelski to be the one to direct Blade, I'm just not sure. Caleb is just spreading misinformation right now.
Yeah, I mean, no, but like, we better take this down before the Snyder cultists treat that seriously.
Yes,
and then propagate that all over the internet.
That was a joke. Do not take that seriously, please. That was a joke. And with that,
Snyder cultists are too stupid to realize that.
But with that, John, we're gonna bring to a close the quick hits as well as the news segment of the show. Of course, guys, let us know in the comments down below which was your favorite story. Do you want to see Chad Stahelski take on Blade? Would he be the best fit for this franchise? Are you excited for Krrish 4, the 4th movie in basically the best superhero franchise in Bollywood?
Let's go.
I like the comment in the chat. It said he looks like an 80s rock star. I'm like, yes, he does. Yes, he does. Pure cinema. Like I'm sure Marty Scorsese is gonna. The Iceman. There's also, of course, Nintendo 2, The Legend of Zelda. That's gonna be coming out on this. Already got a release date, March 26, 2027. 2 years from today, basically 2 years from today. And then Tom Holland. It looks like, according to Jeff Snyder, he's not going to actually be in Avengers Doomsday at all because his Spider-Man movie is going to be taking place around the same time. And so, canonically, it's not going to make sense if he's in both movies. And of course, he starts filming that later this year. So guys, let us know in the comments down below what you think about all of those news stories. Of course, hit that like button while you're at it. Hit subscribe if you're new because we're here 5 days a week doing this. So of course you can check back in anytime and hit the notification bell so you know when we go live. But in the meantime, we have to move on to what is, as always, the main event of the show, DCU Daily. So guys, welcome on in to another episode of DCU Daily. We have so much to talk about today, as always. And that's the wrong. We will talk about CinemaCon at some point because CinemaCon starts on Monday. But hey, we have some Superman news. Is there another test screening that happened? People apparently talking about it. We'll test the validity of those reports. There's a bunch of studios out there who are trying to not just take down some AI fake trailers to their movies, but they're saying, hey, we'll keep the fake trailers up. Just give us the money. Don't give it to the people who are making the fake trailers. Let that be the lesson to them. We'll talk about that, of course. And then the Lanterns director, James Hawes, has said that the cosmic side of the Lanterns will still be part of the show, even though the series is meant to be a lot more grounded. So we have to talk about all of those things. And of course, there's a little bit more beyond that, Martian Manhunter news, and we have your comments. So to do that and so much more, I've got John with me. What is your favorite story on the rundown today, John?
Just ripping Jeff Snyder a new one again, because that's always fun.
All right, well, fair enough. So we're gonna start off with Martian Manhunter today because the absolute universe is just going from one hit to another, and it looks like the latest hit in that series is Martian Manhunter, Absolute Martian Manhunter, which was originally meant to be just a limited series. It looks like it might be becoming a full-length series. It's getting extended. Now, Denise Camp responded to a DC fan who asked him about, is it possible for this to get extended? And he basically said, yeah, it's it's very much possible that it could keep going, because it's already sold hundreds of thousands of copies, and it looks like they've now extended it to 12 issues. John, what are your thoughts on this? Is this one that you are looking to pick up for yourself as well?
Probably not. But I don't know. It's just like the absolute universe. I'm still kind of iffy on. Maybe if like more of it is out, and like more of it is like close to completion, I'll maybe like binge all of it. I'll just read all of it online. Because I don't know. I just think that's easier than just like waiting a month for each thing. Because I remember when I was reading Rebirth at the time, I was just like, oh god, this is just taking forever. Um, and if it goes downhill, then I could just be like, well, if it sucks, if it starts sucking, I could just not read it then. But this is cool. I mean, I like the art. I like how different it is, so that's definitely interesting. But yeah, I really like that. I mean, the Flash one definitely has me interested. I really like that idea. Um, and fucking Wonder Woman with the fucking Final Fantasy sword, the Cloud sword. Honestly, that's kind of baller. Not gonna lie.
It
But
is. I love the Wonder Woman design. I think that's
yeah,
probably the best part of this absolute series. But then also, I'm a huge proponent of Martian Manhunter. Give me more Martian Manhunter. Give me as much of it as possible. I think you can
yeah,
make a John Carter-esque, like just absolutely amazing epic story for Martian Manhunter that could be like a war film, or just an action, like a Lawrence of Arabia that takes place on Mars. It's like something like that. You can do that for Martian Manhunter. He's got the storytelling potential, and just if you look at the fantastical nature of the characters, the white Martians, the green Martians, it's also great social commentary that I think would be perfect for what we need right now, and especially at a time when the X-Men are gonna be making a return to Marvel with a renaissance of movies in the mutant saga. Like, why not do this over at DC? And absolute Martian Manhunter, I think, just is another exciting take on what I think is just a absolutely timeless character that doesn't get enough attention in live action. So I hope like the popularity of this series maybe leads to James Gunn giving us some Martian Manhunter in the DCU. That's my take on this. I mean, what do you think, John? Kristen says that it's one of the most underrated, a top 10 underrated character in the
oh
DC
yeah, he's one of the most
on the DC
underrated.
Comics. Yeah.
I mean, I think what showed like his underratedness is like they fucking ripped him away from the Justice League original lineup in the
I
new
was pretty mad
52.
about that when they like put in Cyborg, and then that's the version we were gonna get in the DCEU. I was like, but Martian Man, I understand that they want to do Cyborg is more relevant to the today times, but dude, Martian Manhunter's on a societal level, his story is still very timeless and valid.
Yeah,
And that character, like in the JLU animated series you guys were saying, is fantastic.
yeah.
Like he's a leader. He's also
It's
just the
just like
story potential. It's so
now
amazing.
I'm on the
I can't wait.
fence when it comes to certain characters like growing and not like I think there is some push and pull in regards to characters growing and not growing. I think it was a good idea for Batman to get married to Catwoman, but Tom King fucking blew that because he's a fucking moron. But I also like the idea of Superman and Lois having a marriage and having a kid. I like that, fucking Peter Parker fucking having a family. Like literally, the fucking people at Marvel just refuse to see and refuse to admit that people want to see Peter Parker have a family. They literally gave it to us in an alternate universe, and it's been fucking selling like hotcakes, and people are unanimously praising the Ultimate Spider-Man right now. Yet the fucking Marvel like main editor is like, "Oh yeah, but people don't want to see that. People don't want to see that." It's like, are you fucking stupid? But it's just, it's just the idea of kind of I don't know. It's like what I'm trying to get at with this is like Cyborg becoming more of an adult character, but like I can't imagine him as anything other than a Teen Titan. Like if you want him to grow, that's fine, but keep him a Titan. I don't now. And the thing is, it kind of denigrates the Titans a little bit because it's like, oh, they're just that sidekick team that we have, because that's what it originally was until Marv Wolfman, and George Perez came in and were like, hold our pencils, and then just fucking made them completely and utterly goated. And so it kind of is like, oh, Cyborg is too good for he's too good for Teen Titans. We're gonna put him on Justice League because I understand that's the most popular and the premier team, but like there's so many other teams at DC that have just as much relevance and just as much um popularity, just like are just as good as Justice League for different reasons, yes, but still just as good. Um but I just, it's just like Cyborg, I think he can grow, and I think like the Teen Titans, maybe it should at one point become just the Titans, and then like, you have them just as older characters. So you have that. And I think that should be something to do, but just leave him on the Teen Titans and have him become a Titan after he is no longer a teenager. So just like have Martian Manhunter be in the fucking Justice League. Like, I don't get why that's so weird. And it's like, give him some love, give him some, give him something. I just don't get the idea of like just fucking banish him to this thing. And it's just like,
this is the thing though, right? Like Zack Snyder and his version of the Justice League movie did give us Martian Manhunter, and apparently I think he made it sound like that was something where the studio didn't want to add it, and then he thought this would be a great idea, so he brought it in. Either that or he thought of it for his version of the movie however many years after the original one came out. So like the theatrical version in 2017 clearly did not have any mention of Martian Manhunter. Then of course we get a little bit of him in the 2021 version on HBO. So I mean, who would you cast as Martian Manhunter? Would you want to bring Henry Lennox back potentially, or would you want to like Chris Evans, Jalen Harris would like to see? I know in more recent times we have seen African American actors, mostly black actors, take on the role, including like in the Supergirl TV show. But
I mean,
I don't think it's unprecedented.
Started. I mean, in live action, it started with Smallville. That when Phil Morris was cast as John. I mean, yes, I know that like Carl Lumley technically predated him by a couple years, by like at least like 5 or 6 years with the anime show, but I'm talking about like live action, and he kind of just like in combination with those two things of a voice and a like live action performance, then it kind of just became that like Martian Hunter is a black. Now you do have Elseworld stories where he's not like the absolute universe, but I think it's like, you know what, he's a shapeshifter. You can make him any form you want, but like, might as well just make him a black guy. This is like the least controversial like race swap you could possibly do, because it actually kind of makes sense because he's a shapeshifter. He can make any form he wants. So fuck it, have him be a black guy. I mean, Lance Reddick would have been amazing. Andre Brower would have been amazing. They would have been like, those would have been the guys that I would have.
That those two guys are not around anymore. It breaks my heart. It literally breaks my heart. I was just watching a shit ton of Brooklyn Nine-Nine the other day. I'm like, Andre Brower was in his 50s, and like Lance Reddick with stuff like Fringe and John Wick. It's still, and he's gonna be in Ballerina. We have to appreciate
the fact
while they're still around.
It was like
Carl Lumley's still around. Like
lost Lance Reddick, and then John Wick 4 comes out and he dies in that movie. That hit fucking hurt so much more. And I'm just like, oh God, why? But it was a good swan song. Even though he's showing up as Ballerina, it predates the events, so it's like, all right,
filmed a lot of it before that.
I could see a Mahershala Ali, but he's still technically Blade, so like, who knows. But he would be great. I don't know if he would do it, but he would be great. But yeah, I think Hugh Key's burn could have been awesome. I know it would have looked kind of weird, but like I love the practical suit of it all, so that would have been awesome. But yeah,
well, I mean, hey, look, this is also now potentially another source of inspiration. If you are gonna make a new Martian Manhunter, you can always just be inspired by the absolute version of the character instead of what's usually been, the mainline version of the character that we have seen for years. Maybe you go more off the absolute Manhunter design and Martian Manhunter story and origin, which has been modified and changed up a bit for this new series. But hey, at least the comic book is selling fantastically well, and they've extended it to 12 issues. So I cannot wait to pick this up. You guys are recommending it to us in the chat, so I am looking forward to it myself. Now, John, let's move on to the next story here. I came across this pretty much across social media and on Deadline as well. So they were talking about Warner Brothers, Sony, and Paramount have now monetized fake AI YouTube trailers. You and I and everybody watching, I'm sure, have at some point in time run across a fake AI generated or something where somebody was clearly trying to give you something that wasn't real in a movie trailer. And oops, sorry. Apologize. There's something back there that I need to fix. But yeah, basically we have all come across this at some point or another, and we have all, kind of felt like we got rickrolled. But now, as opposed to just straight up doing a takedown of these, all of these three big studios have said that, hey, you know what? Why don't you, instead of copyright striking these videos, just send us the revenue instead? So, John, to me, this poses two questions. A, do you think this is the right move? Because what it does is it perpetuates the existence of these AI YouTube trailers. Because I feel like they should just take them down, because it's setting up false expectations for fans. It's still going to mislead them into watching something that's not real. And then B, what do you think about the idea of like the studios just saying, hey, you know what, we'll take the money, we'll take the money and run. It just on the surface, it's like, okay, this is good that these people making these fake trailers are getting what they deserve, but at the same time, these fake trailers won't go away because of this move. It just shifts where the revenue is going. I mean, what are your thoughts on this story?
I think it's kind of like putting ointment on a flesh wound. Sure, it helps a little bit, but it's not going to make the problem go away. So it's just one of those things where it's just like, you really just need to get to the root of the problem to really get rid of the problem. Sure, this will help. This will be like, well, fuck you guys. You're making money off of this like AI creator bullshit. And when you don't deserve it because you didn't make any of this stuff, you just put it in a fucking thing, and you created the models, you created this, that, and this, and you fucking shit something out. And it caused no artistry whatsoever, no vision. You just shit something out to get views. And views they'll get, but at least they won't see the money from those views. So I will say that that's definitely good, that they won't be getting anything from that, if that's the case, if this goes through. So it'll help a little bit, but it won't get to the root of the problem, unfortunately. So, but this is still a good fuck you to the people making money off this shit. So hell yeah. One of the few times that WB actually making a good decision.
I'm pretty sure our Batgirl coverage was not AI generated, though. Just saying.
But yeah, I don't know what else to say. But yeah, I would think it would be, wouldn't it?
I just don't understand how Spider-Man has wings and the logo is glowing and we're supposed to believe that's real. Like, is he all of a sudden an X-Man of some kind? It doesn't make
Is
any
he just
sense
dead now and he's like a guardian angel or something? Like what?
All right. Well, we're gonna move on to the next story, John. I'll let you take the lead on this one. There was a rumor a report from Jeff Snyder that there's apparently a massive surprise cameo in the Superman movie, described as the biggest one of the film. People have been speculating. I mean, what are your thoughts on this? Who do you think this person? We have talked about it a little bit before, but it seems to just keep persisting. Who do you think this cameo might be?
I would assume I know I have seen reports that like, oh, Bradley Cooper is going to be Jor-El. He worked with James Gunn, so he's coming back for that. That could be an interesting thing. I mean, I would suspect it's Jor-El because James Gunn did say that, like, he'll, uh, yeah, Jeff Snyder comes in, an AI generated Jeff Snyder comes in, and he fucking immediately gets murdered by Superman snapping his neck. Um, but I mean, Jor-El would make sense because that's the only other like major Superman character that would come into this movie, come into this mythos, come into this world that we haven't gotten yet, and it's been teased, even though it's probably not true because remember, this is Jeff Snyder and he's a fucking loser. So who knows? I take this with a grain of salt, like everything this fucking douchebag propagates. So I don't know. Maybe it's something, probably not, but we'll see.
I like the comment on the side. It's a race between Marvel and DC for Tom Cruise as Jor-El. I just would
And
love
it's
to
a
see
Les Grossman
it's
makeup
Les
too.
Grossman just just dancing at the end.
I
of the
really
movie,
gotta
the
watch
credits.
Tropic Thunder because, like, I started watching it, and the thing is, I was like super young when that movie came out. I was like 11 years old, so I was like watching that. No, they're not texting me about anything. I didn't say anything. So, and the thing is, like, when I saw like a guy's like guts exploding, I was like, no, I didn't realize it was like comedy. I thought it was like, I didn't like get it. So I was just like, nope, I'm not watching this. So yeah.
I will say there's some unexpectedly gory parts of the movie which still throw me off a little bit because it's just like, okay, I won't actually spoil it for you because I almost said something that was going to spoil a big part of the movie for you, but yes, there's stuff in this movie where you're like, whoa, oh, that happened, great, oh, I didn't see that coming. And so there are moments of shock and awe, but at the same time, yeah, the overall it's the whole thing of I'm a dude playing another dude, I'm a dude dressed as another dude playing another dude, like that whole thing. It's like RDJ doing things like blackface that would never fly today. um
And he still got nominated for it. Whoosh. The Academy not getting the joke.
And yeah, and then Tom Cruise, of course. I recently saw a clip of the Ben Stiller talking, who Ben Stiller directed this movie.
Yeah, I saw that.
He was talking about like how Tom Cruise signed on for the movie, like sent him like a version of the script. He was like, I want to do that. I want to like dance. You guys are doing it. You guys are making fun of everything in Hollywood except like let's make fun of a producer. And then you just put stuff on and started dancing. It's like, and then on set they played the Get Back from Ludacris, and then all of a sudden it's like it just came together naturally. It seems like.
And I love how he put on like fake hands.
Yeah,
like
yep.
it just like
everything. You know, rumor has it that he's actually parodying Harvey Weinstein.
I mean, yeah,
but
I mean, there was so much
yeah,
anti-heart, like it was an open secret at that point. We all knew, like literally fucking, or like 5 years before Peter Jackson made him look like an orc in fucking Lord of the Rings. Well, fun fact, Lord of the Rings was originally at Miramax. Like it was like Peter Jackson envisioned it as a two-parter.
Yeah,
it was supposed to be a two-parter, where like, you know, Fellowship and half of Two Towers was the first movie, and then the second half and Return of the King was supposed to be the next movie, kind of like what Ralph Bakshi was going to do with the animated one before they canceled the second movie. So so that's what was going to happen, and then the producers Harvey Weinstein and Bob Weinstein were like, no, you have to have it be one movie and it can't be longer than 2 hours. Imagine a Lord of the Rings movie where all three books are in one movie and it's 2 hours long. That's crazy. So then eventually, like, I think like Legal Hullabaloo came out, and then they went to New Line, and Peter Jackson pitched a two-parter, and then New Line was like, why not make it, it's 3 books, why not make it fucking 3 movies? And he's like, all right, cool, great. And so that's exactly what happened.
It only makes sense that you would do 1 book a movie, you know, if not like 1 book for 2 movies, which seems to be the trend these days. Yeah. But hey, you know what? The rumor that there is a massive cameo in Superman. We have talked about this before. Dude, you were talking about following in the footsteps of Marlon frickin' Brando and
Yeah.
Russell frickin' Crowe playing
Right.
Jor-El. So the pedigree is there. Like those are the two actors. Whoever takes on the new version of Jor-El has to be in the same conversation as
If
Marlon
Jor-El
Brando
is in the movie,
and
this could be
Russell
total
Crowe.
bullshit. So.
Right. It could be something completely different. It could be another metahuman. It could be Batman, and we're like, oh my god, there was a Batman cameo in there. Oh, by the way, we have our Batman for the DCU. So,
And it's
it
not
could be
Alan
anything.
Richardson.
Or it is. Who knows? Like, see, that's the
Let's-
second comment
let's
down
be-
here that is going to be Batman. And then you have a few other things like Henry Cavill is the Ultraman character, which would be too meta. Alan Richardson shows up as Bruce Wayne. Jensen Ackles shows up as Bruce Wayne. Grant Gustin appears and realizes he's in a different universe, which is like a sequel to his Ezra Miller cameo. Then Matt Ryan
Honestly,
appears and questions what universe he is as he pours a drink. I would love Matt Ryan one is my favorite.
No
That's what I
way
wanna
would
see.
any of those happen. James Gunn knows better than that. He wouldn't do any of that. It would be nice to see, but
Yeah. But hey, you know what? The theories abound. Let us know in the comments down below. Who do you think, if this rumor of a major cameo is indeed true, who do you think that cameo is? A, the character, and B, the actor. We'd love to hear from you guys in the comments down below. But in the meantime, John, we have to move on. There's more Superman news to talk about. Of course, we just can't seem to be able to get away from reports that there's more test screenings taking place. We know James Gunn has said they might be doing a bit more of that, but he also said that he was doing that and limiting the audience to really just the innermost circle of the folks over at DC Studios that James Gunn very much trusts. So it wasn't like they were doing test screenings with just average audience members. And when they do that, by the way, they all sign
you said
NDAs. And if you guys release and leak details, like they will eventually lead it back to you. And if they trace it back to you, you could get sued for a lot of money. So you could be in basically a financial shitter if you decide to leak the details of an actual test screening. So it's not recommended, but it seems like people are still putting this information out there. How true it is, we have no idea. But apparently Superman had a test screening last night. This comes to us from DC Film News. And I don't know, John. I just want to ask you before we get into the some of the reactions and purported reviews of the movie. Do you believe that this actually happened, or this is still just hearsay?
I think it's hearsay at this point because it's like, how many fucking test screenings can you possibly have? And like James Gunn hasn't confirmed like the only one he's confirmed was like one for like employees or like friends and family of the crew or something like that. But like that's it. That's like the only like confirmed one we've gotten. So I say Superman has had only one, and it's that one that James Gunn confirmed. And that's it. I don't believe anything else in regards to test screenings when it comes to this movie.
Yeah. And even though he said that they were going to potentially test the movie again, I don't know if they're like doing a screening pretty much every week. Because like you put in a rundown, what is this? Superman's 458,930,929.6 test screening. It feels like that, right? Like literally feels like that. And then our movie news put this out from Viewer Anon, who's one of those insiders that hangs out on Reddit, and they posted that just to keep expectations in check, the response I heard directly from Warner Brothers was decidedly less glowing than Daniel's post. I think it's Daniel RPK they're talking about. Not to say it went terribly, but it's a divisive film with a particularly silly tone. Some people click with it, some people just seem to bounce right off. I also saw a post
and then
where
look at the
saying,
guy, the same guy saying on Twitter, also saying, "Oh yeah, Captain America: Brave New World was pretty good." That's what I heard. Yeah, well, you heard wrong because now everyone's clowning on that shit. So like, all right, sure. So I don't believe this for a second.
Also, I saw there was I don't know if I have a link to this, but I saw that somebody posted like the first words for Superman from the movie are apparently "I'm Superman, bitches," and it's like, okay, that does not quite fit the character, like not really. So I'm not really sure why that would be in the movie. I would be very surprised. The context in which that is being said would be just weird to think
Right.
about. Not so I don't know if it is true at all. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how if I believe this like for 1 second, John. Oh, I'm just opening up random articles now. Where did it go? Here we go. Our movie news. That's what we were talking about. But yeah, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, Jalen Harris is so sick of these test screenings at this point. He's like, we don't need to know. Just let the movie come out. God damn it.
I mean, I
with you.
agree with Caleb.
Yep. Oh, sorry. What did Caleb say? It's literally, trust me, it is exactly that. It's exactly that. So, yeah. We'll just have to wait till the new trailer comes out. Guys, CinemaCon starts this Monday, and I believe Warner Brothers is presenting on April 1st. So yeah, I mean, April Fool's Day,
It's not a fool's errand. It's happening.
But they will be presenting on what I think is Tuesday of this upcoming week. So I'm sure if there's any Superman related news, we will be here to break down the presentation and talk about what went down at CinemaCon on Tuesday for DCU Daily. So do look out for that. And of course, throughout the week, Monday through Friday, there'll be presentations from all the different studios. Universal Pictures is actually doing a screening of How to Train Your Dragon, the live action movie, and then we might have a couple other surprise live action, well, not live action, but a couple of surprise screenings that usually happen every year. So yeah, between Universal and Warner Brothers, Amazon, MGM, Sony, Lionsgate, all Disney, all of these studios are going to be presenting over the course of the week. And between Monday and Friday, we'll be here to give you the latest from all of those presentations. And of course, on Tuesday is probably where we are most likely to get all of our DC stuff, including Superman. So we'll be here to talk about it. So be sure to join us. But John, in the meantime, here is our main story of the day, the big kahuna, which is Lanterns. It's filming right now, and the director of the show, James Hawes, who you mentioned is responsible for a bunch of other fantastic television, including one of my favorites, Slow Horses. He was recently teasing that not only are we going to get a grounded detective murder mystery, but it's also going to have humor. And then he did promise that the show doesn't lack its sci-fi magic despite its grounded setting. So what are your thoughts on what James Hawes had to say? And then can you also just, before you talk about what he said, give us a bit more of an idea of who this man is? Like, he's done more than just Lanterns. Obviously, I mentioned Slow Horses, but this guy has been around the block a few times.
Well, I mean, I kind of trust him, like, in regards to this. I mean, this is coming from the man himself. This isn't like Jeff Snyder claiming James Hawes said this. It's like him actually saying, this is what it is. And it's essentially him being like, well, it is grounded, yes, but it's like at the same time, it's kind of just like it just exists. Like he's like, I can't really explain. He's like, it just kind of exists and it works within the context of this world. So it's like, I think what he means by that, it's just like, he also said it's very authentic. So that seems to be pretty good. So I would imagine it's just like one of those things where it's not explained a lot, where it's just like it just works within the context of the show and the DCU world it's taking place in. So there's that. But yeah, I think I didn't know James Hawes was directing The Amateur, so that's pretty good. I'm really curious with how he handles like live action film. But
I mean, Raised by Wolves, Black Mirror, like Snowpiercer, this guy is
The Alienist, Doctor Who. I'm the Doctor Who guy. I got to point that out. Slow Horses. He's done a lot of stuff. So he's like, I love Damon Lindelof and Chris Mundy. First time that anyone has ever uttered I love Damon Lindelof in the history of fucking cinema. But there's that, and then and this is where he explains that he's like, it's just, he's like, I can't say anything, but he's like, it doesn't lack its sci-fi magic. So he's clearly saying like the cosmic entity of Green Lantern is there. The sci-fi element is there. It doesn't stray too far away from that. So that's good. Obviously we'll have to see if this is true or not, if those, leaks are true. So yeah, we'll see. Hopefully he gives us something good. I'm still not really convinced, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I think what he talks about here, one of the paragraphs on screen, he says you always find a scene or two that you think, I can't wait to be stood beside the camera and the cast directing this scene on the day. And if it happens on turning the pages, this is something you have to take seriously, and that absolutely happened with Lanterns. So he's showing genuine enthusiasm for this, and I can't wait, to see what he turns this into. Because even though in television traditionally directors don't have as big of a role as they do in movies in terms of deciding the creative direction and the look of the show, nowadays shows are made kind of more like movies than they were in the past. So directors do get to have more of a say in how an episode, looks, and feels and walks and talks. So in that way, I think James Hawes is going to have a bigger impact on this than he would have had like if it was a show that was like 20 episodes and it was on, I don't know, like the WB back in the day. But the other thing he was saying here is, to some extent, it's a swerve. Superheroes are not somewhere I've really played before, but it's created in such a way I can't tell you much, that it bewitched me. That's a clever word, bewitched me. It doesn't lack its sci-fi magic, but it's done in a world where you accept that these things just are. They don't need that extra sprinkle of sci-fi fairy dust. It works within a physical world that we have come to know. So I mean, hey, it sounds like he's trying to again tell us, don't worry, just because this takes place on Earth doesn't mean it's not going to have lanterns doing lanterns things, which is exactly what James Gunn has said every time he's been asked about it. So I'm going to take him on his word. He's described the cast of this show as electric in the past, John. The way he talks about it is amazing. He said he's using words like authenticity and charm. And when you look at the cast members, like he mentioned, Kelly MacDonald, who he has worked with before on Black Mirror, it's
right.
He just says you get people who are just so classy and so busy inhabiting their roles, so you never doubt it, and they're not on the outside, they're deep in those skins. So again, he's talking this up like it's going to be probably one of the best shows of the year, and that's my expectation, regardless of whether Guy Gardner, aka Nathan Fillion, shows up or not. Even if he shows up as just a dead body at the beginning, and that's the start of the mystery.
I don't think that'll be the case.
I'm gonna hold on to that theory until it's proven otherwise. But I mean, John, do you know how many episodes of this James Hawes actually directing? Because I believe there's more than
two
just
episodes.
him.
The first 2 episodes.
So is that it? He's not gonna direct like the finale or anything. It's just the first
Nope.
2?
Because there's gonna be 4 directors, 2 episodes each.
I see.
Also,
okay.
Dan being convinced that Guy Gardner dying starts the whole thing.
I want to believe. I want to believe, Scully. I want to believe. The truth is out there.
And the truth is, Guy Gardner ain't dying. He's not dying.
Enterprise in the
Bolt
chat
Cut
saying
boy
Man
ain't
of Steel
dying.
is still divisive because everyone keeps talking about it. Yeah, but you know what? Everyone's still talking about it. I'd rather be a movie that everyone's still talking about 15 years later than a movie that nobody remembers.
Caleb Underwood. Guy Gardner has the Lloyd Christmas drip. That's good. That's good.
That is accurate. Where the kids saying,
it.
bro, what the F do you mean that this show might be too serious in a good way? I mean, I feel like he means like they've compared it to True Detective. So obviously it's going to have that True Detective influence. I believe 1 or 2 of the directors on the show actually directed True Detective episodes before. So there is some literal
Chris
crossover
Mundy
between
did
those.
executive. He wasn't, I don't think he was the showrunner of Night Country, but I think he executively produced it.
Yeah. No, Caleb, The Last Jedi is not the same as Man of Steel. And by the way, The Last Jedi is actually a pretty decent movie. It's not a great movie. It's not a great, but it is 1,000 times better than The Rise of Skywalker. It felt like much. It was the like, honestly, here's my thing. I did not like all the decisions in The Last Jedi that they made creatively, but when it comes to just on a pure filmmaking level, the story that it told at the end, it kind of opens the door like, hey, like thematically, you can just be anybody, any random dude born on any random planet in the galaxy and can be, given the power of the Force. It doesn't have to be that you come from some royal bloodline or something like that. That concept was threaded into that. The idea that, Rey was a nobody and that there was that kid at the end on that planet. Yes, the side quest was kind of weird going on to that casino planet in the first place. But the Kelly Marie Tran character I found to be pretty likable, and that storyline with the John Boyega's character, I'm like, yeah, give Finn a love interest, sure, but then followed through on it. It felt like the problem with the third movie was they completely reversed course on everything the second movie tried to do, and that made the second movie feel even worse. I will say though, the whole thing of we have to hide the plan from Poe because he's not smart enough to handle it, even though he's the leader of your entire squadron, made absolutely zero sense. So yes, there were some pretty bad flaws in that movie, but that movie also had that shot where, like, that whole big galactic cruiser gets rammed through in one of the most beautiful sci-fi shots that Star Wars has ever done. So yeah, I mean, I have mixed opinions of The Last Jedi. I don't think it's trash. I think it's a lot better than trash.
I think the reasoning behind getting rid of Kelly Marie Tran, there was the rumor, it's probably bullshit, where she was an Asian character to bring in more of the Chinese audience, but they didn't realize that Kelly Marie Tran is Vietnamese, and China does not like the Vietnamese. So that's why they pretty much, or they like listened to like the fan backlash and then just made her role like minuscule in Rise of Skywalker. But that was like the rumor, probably bullshit, probably just racist sentiment and from assholes. But that was like, I remember reading that at the time, and it could have been something. But that is true, Caleb. No, he doesn't hate fun. He just hates anything resembling good writing when it comes to DC. So.
All right. Well, I mean, hey, you know what? Guy Gardner did end up in a coma in the comics for a while, which led to Jon Stewart replacing him in certain iterations of Green Lantern. So there is precedence there. And, well, this show is still filming. I hope we get more inside looks, behind the scenes photos, maybe another official photo of them doing something on a highway. Who knows? Maybe we'll get a look at their official costume soon. I can't wait for this. I don't think we're going to get it at CinemaCon, because at CinemaCon, the only thing that they're putting out in movie theaters within the next 12 months is Superman. So that's probably the only thing we're going to get any, inside look or trailer or first 5 minutes or whatever, or maybe a surprise screening of Superman. If they do a screening of Superman at CinemaCon, at least we will have a real screening to discuss rather than a rumored or reported one. So, but hey, Lanterns, it's filming. It's going to come out next year on HBO. It's going to be a packed year. It's going to start with Supergirl, then we dive into Lanterns, and we'll have Clayface. And they might even have more stuff coming out before then. Creature Commandos Season 2 is already in production. So, yeah, I can't wait for what's ahead for DC. It's going to start to really get, packed to the brim with a lot more news and just more projects for us to watch, review, talk about, break down, discuss, analyze, overanalyze, and then speculate of what's to come after. So, John, before we finish off the show, as we always do, we're going to finish the week of shows today with a Q&A session. So you pulled in a few comments from the folks watching at home. So let's bring those comments in and let's talk about them before we wrap up for the night.
Yeah. So we only have 3, unfortunately. None of you guys are commenting. Come on, guys. Let's fucking comment more, goddammit. But so so the first one was from Kyle Kaiswetter. He was saying in regards to the Smallville animated series, he's like, I met Tom at a Comic-Con over the summer. It sounded like Warner Brothers just won't do it. He said WB says they're like family, but they haven't called him for any work since. Sad, because I'd see it. So yeah, so he's just commenting on the whole like Smallville like animated series that's never going to happen, but like
right.
But it's just like it would have been like a kind of like interesting thing. Oh, hey, look, there he is, future Batman. But
potentially, let's not spread false rumors, guys.
But well, that's who everybody fucking wants. So but yeah, it's just like something like, could it be an interesting idea? Sure, but it just like, what would it be a sequel to? Would it be a sequel to the original show? Would it be a sequel to season 11? With that, why would you make the thing that's that not a lot of people know about, like a sequel to that?
Remember, because it's like a generational thing at this point. I know it has a big cult following, but it's such an old show now. I feel like there's not much momentum for them to capitalize on, that you go back and do a spinoff of a show that was, I don't know, like But when did the show go off the air? The other day we were talking about it. It was
14
like
years ago.
14 years ago. It's just feels like that's too long of a time to have passed for them to now go into a spin-off. If you're gonna do anything, it should be something that feels like it's a more like it's more inspired by it or based on it, but then like a new iteration of it. Because even the Arrowverse, where we last saw Tom Welling associated with the character of Superman, even that's been gone for years now. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like the closest thing we're gonna get to a Tom Welling Superman anytime in the future is maybe some kind of multiversal cameo in the DCU, and that's probably not such a bad thing. But yeah, I mean it is unfortunate that Warner Brothers doesn't have much for him to do. But then again, I don't. It's not like it's their job to give and find roles for Tom Welling. It's usually like this is these are the projects they're working on. Tom Welling can audition for any of them, much like any actor can, and then see if he's the right fit. So but yes, I think he was just kind of opining a little bit, but at the same time I'm not surprised that we're not getting another animated spin-off of Smallville, especially right now where Warner Brothers is pinching pennies. So I don't think they have the room to just go and experiment with something that will not have a guaranteed audience. So and animation is also something that they're trying to get away from anyway. So I'm like, who are they going to sell it to? They don't have the CW anymore. So unless like an Amazon Prime or a Netflix or something says, yes, we will pay for this, I don't think there's any buyer out there. There's no distributor for it. So there you go. John, what's the next comment?
So another person was talking about my Magneto like rant, where they were like, one, Magneto was not always a Holocaust survivor. Yes, I'm aware of that. Two, a Holocaust survivor can't always be the thing due to, age. There are several different tragedies that stem from evil and can be used to kick off the next Magneto, unless Magneto is in his 80s. It's just forcing it. Here's the thing. You didn't listen to what I was saying. I literally said in the video that I'm like, you can make anything work in regards to Magneto and even Professor X and other older characters work. First things first, you could do what essentially Fantastic Four is doing. Just make it a different world, and everything took place in like the 70s. And just like have that be the thing, and then make it like that for the time being. Or you can do something else. Now, it's been like I mentioned this in the video. I said like you could do a lot of things for Magneto. You can pull a Ra's al Ghul where he has like an invention or something where he can just make himself like younger, make his age slower, make him age slower. You can have him have a second mutation. You can have maybe something something happen to him and Professor X that make them age slower. I don't know. There can be a lot of things. It's just I feel what Chris Claremont did and making him a Holocaust survivor is too integral to the character at this point. You can't just shoo it away. It would be like now, like not making Superman from Krypton. Like it's like, sure, it might not have been from the beginning, but it's too integral to the character now to like not make that work. Now, I mean, if you can make it work that like fucking Captain America gets frozen in ice for literal decades, even though originally he was thawed out 20 years after World War II. But like, oh yeah, him being frozen for fucking 70 years, that's okay. But Magneto having like maybe a second mutation that makes him age slower is like too much for people. Apparently, that's too fucking much. That's the thing that's crazy. It's like, all right, fuck you. Like, I understand there have been a lot of tragedies in regards to humans' folly. I get that. Like, there's a lot of fucked up shit in the world, a lot of evil in this world, and there's a lot of things you can draw from that shows the showcase of evil and the like us versus them dynamic that the Holocaust brought of Germans versus Jews, and as well as others like Black people, gays, Romani, because a lot of other people that were not just Jews died during the Holocaust that were put in the camps and killed. So there are other things. I mean, literally in China right now. They have camps and are committing genocide right now as we speak. So you could bring in that aspect, but I feel like now, not to denigrate other peoples and other cultures and other countries and races tragedies, because they are terrible and they should be remembered, just um like the Armenians in World War One. That was like the thing that like inspired Hitler, partly that idea of like eradicating an entire people. And that's even less remembered because they not got away with it, but it was pretty much they got away with it more than Hitler did. And so there is that aspect as well. And there's a lot of tragedies and genocides and all the shit, but I feel like the most powerful one is the Holocaust because that's the biggest one and the most remembered. But it's not just that. The whole basis of Magneto's character is the fact he became the Hitler for mutants. Like that was the full circle moment and kind of irony for Magneto's character is yes, he wants to protect mutant kind, but he wants in that plight,
I mean, it's
he
also
wants
that
to eradicate
yeah,
humanity, which essentially makes him the very thing he swore to destroy.
yeah.
He became mutant Hitler. That was the idea. That's why making him a Holocaust survivor works, because in his twisted sociopathic mind, oh, this is right, yet he became the ultimate evil and the thing that humanity hates now with the mutants. So that's what makes that character work so well. Now, could you replace it with something else? Yeah, maybe, but I feel like the impact and the intrigue with that character would be significantly less if you did not make him a Holocaust survivor. That's the thing I'm trying to say. And with comic book movies, you could make a lot of things work in regards to Magneto surviving and him not being as old as, as
But,
someone actually would be.
but here's the thing. I I disagree with you with the thing. I disagree with you on the matter that we need it to be the Holocaust because it is the biggest example or the most effective example. Here's the thing. The world that we live in today, the Holocaust is something that we never want to forget about. But I think to make it more relevant to the times today, there is a million other tragedies that you can reach into. And also, when you make that argument about the aging part, he ages slower. I'm like, okay, so he ages slower, but what about everybody else? Is Professor X not his contemporary? Then Professor X also ages slower? Then, I mean, or do you start, because I'm like, the only way you can really make it work today, and here's the thing, this is always going to be a problem. Like, they might be doing another reboot of the X-Men in 2045. Then what do they do? Can the X-Men only exist in the 1960s? Because that's the only way that you're gonna get him at an age where he feels like, you can still relate to the Holocaust. Like, these events will become further and further in our past. So I'm like, it's a problem that's not going to necessarily go away. This is something where I think Marvel has an opportunity to set a precedent for like how to do it in a way that feels respected and respecting the origin of the comics, but at the same time evolving it for a new generation moving forward. Because I have a feeling they're not going to cast. I mean, look, Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart were already in their 50s when they were making these X-Men movies originally in the early 2000s. I bet you, like, when they cast these new X-Men, they're gonna go for younger iterations, and
Right.
they're gonna want to bring these characters in so they can play them for 20 years. I mean, granted, I guess you could say Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart are at this point playing them for 20, 30 years, literally till they're 90. So, there's a precedent there already. But at the same time, I feel like if you're doing that, the only way it would work with what you're suggesting is if it was another universe where they existed, and at the time, in their time, it was the 60s, and the Holocaust happened, and so Magneto's origin story is the same, Professor X is the same, and then they become men out of time, like Captain America, and then that to me would work. And then, through incursions and universes being destroyed and then all being merged into one singular universe, maybe then it works. But I just don't I think the aging idea just doesn't work as well, because it creates a million problems while solving one particular one, especially when you're doing this in a cinematic universe where everything connects. Like it's not just a single movie. If it was just Magneto alone, it would work. If it was just the X-Men alone, maybe you can pull it off. That's what they did in X-Men First Class when they changed things up a bit, but they went back in time and made it a period piece. I just think for a cinematic universe, you have to look beyond that. And here's the thing: I'm not saying I necessarily have the solution. I just suggested an idea. I think this is a tough nut to crack, and I really hope that the 5 or 6 years that Kevin Feige and his team have had to work on this for the X-Men, they've figured something out that actually makes sense. I mean, by the way, we have Caleb Richardson in the chat now. He's got a few ideas. And hello, Caleb, by the way. He's saying one step plan for how to update Magneto's origin. Have the Inhumans commit genocide against the mutants and have that be the inciting incident in Magneto's origin. Or they could just have Magneto frozen in cryostasis by Nazi scientists. Actually, both of those are potentially great ideas.
Yeah, that could work.
That could work because then you can also talk about how back in the 60s you had all these other characters, right? Like you had Tony Stark's dad and Howard Stark. You had who was the OG Iron Man? Who does Michael Douglas play? What's his character? Hank Pym. Like you had Peggy Carter. Like, and you could be like, okay, so these characters also existed. Except, I mean, I don't know how you're gonna retcon the history of the MCU. That's another whole thing. So yeah. And then Enterprising saying Mystique and Logan age slow as well as does Sabretooth, so it's not unreasonable. True, but it's more a part of their power set. That was never really. And it's also one of those things where it's like, okay, so every X-Men just ages slower. So how do you?
I mean, that's kind of the reasoning they gave, like with the fucking younger crew, where they like were the same age for 30 years, where it's like Michael Fassbender didn't look any older from like 1963 to like when the fuck did Dark Phoenix take place? The 90s?
It was the 80s and 90s. I think they just like skipped a decade every movie. It was ridiculous. They were like, they just didn't age at all. So
I think they're like, fuck it. Everyone has a second mutation where they don't fucking age. Fine, sure. At least, and that's the thing with Mystique as well. She's like, Mystique is like very different from the movie version. The movie version was simplified her a lot. When Mystique is like in the comics, she's more like full X-Men level threat, not just like a pawn like she was in the Bryan Singer movies. She's like there's even like,
isn't Mystique like Nightcrawler's mom in the comics, and they never quite addressed that? So I mean,
she's like allegedly like maybe like thousands of years old in the comics.
Right,
like, that's like a whole thing. And there was the thing, Chris Claremont wanted to make it so so there was like a whole thing. Chris Claremont wanted Mystique to be Nightcrawler's father, and her lover was supposed to be she's married to now.
Nightcrawler to be Mystique's father? Sorry.
So here was the thing. Mystique was Chris Claremont, considering the fact Mystique is a shapeshifter, she can give herself a sword. So she would have impregnated her lover, and she would have given birth to Nightcrawler, and that was what Chris Claremont wanted to do for years, but like Marvel wouldn't let him do it because you're essentially like doing like kind of like a weird Futanari trans thing. So they're like, nope, we're not doing that. That's way too fucked up, blah, 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 blah. But now in comic books nowadays, they're kind of free to do like more experimental stuff in regards to sexuality and stuff like that. So they essentially made Claremont's original idea canon, because what they essentially did like for years was like, oh, she was his mother, and Azazel or whatever the devil looking motherfucker was his father. That was like kind of like the never really confirmed, but kind of confirmed origin of Nightcrawler. But until they like made it like, yeah, she is his father because of like, all that shit. So yeah, that was like a whole like thing for like years, and then they finally made it canonical like a couple of years ago, and all the fans were like, well, like all the fans that have wanted to happen it have it happen for years were like, yay, and then all the bigots are like, boo. So yeah, there was that like kind of controversy as well. So
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
fun
well,
facts
but
with
yeah,
comic book knowledge with John.
this is fantastic. I mean, because it could potentially be inspiration for the next iteration of the MCU, because Caleb is like, hey, why don't you just kind of throw it all out the window and just do a total reboot, which could be more or less what they might be headed towards anyway. But I wanted to kind of quickly address what Caleb Underwood said earlier, since you have two Calebs in the chat. He was like, it's if the past is further and further, bring it closer and closer. It's fucking comic movies. Okay, I see what you're saying, but it's still, you can't just be like, fuck it, it's comic book movies, because then like all logic goes out the window. Like you still have to have an internal logic to the world that you're trying to tell the story within, and it needs to make sense. And since the MCU is a pre-existing entity and it has its own logic, where the MCU is way more grounded than the Marvel comics have been historically, they always have tried to explain with some level of logic what's going on in the world of the MCU, all the stories that they're trying to tell. So I imagine that when they try to bring in the X-Men into this world, they're not going to just be like, oh yeah, they're from the 60s, but they're just all age slower because of the X gene. Go figure. Like, I think that doesn't quite line up with how MCU does things. That's just not how the MCU as we know it operates. So even though it's not been firing on all cylinders, but I hear what you're saying. It's a little frustrating. This is an impossible problem that I hope Kevin Feige has had enough time to figure out, and they're getting closer and closer to the introduction of the X-Men, whether it's in Secret Wars, the new X-Men, or whether we had to wait till a proper X-Men movie in the Mutant Saga. Hopefully they figured it out. But I mean, John, that's not the only comment we have left.
Yeah,
we've got this one, and then we had a good question from Steven that I think we should end the show on, which will tie it into what's going on next week at CinemaCon. But Kyle, who's always leaving us comments, Kyle Sweater, and he also was in the chat. I don't know if you're still watching, Kyle, but you were saying that a great Commissioner Gordon I'd love to see is Harrison Ford. Brendan Sklenar as Batman. Both are in 1923, that Yellowstone spinoff. And it would be funny, since Mark Hamill is the best Joker voice, recruiting some Star Wars, Disney, Marvel to DC would be great. I mean, John, what are your thoughts on the idea of not only Brendan Sklenar as Batman, which we have talked about, but now let's bring Harrison Ford over from the MCU and bring him in to play our Commissioner Gordon in the DC. This would be the most star-studded like Commissioner Gordon I think we would have ever had, even though we've had some
Michael Caine
names. Michael Caine was not Commissioner Gordon.
Oh my god! Wow, I'm really fried. Jesus Christ!
Who the slow horses? Who? The name is at the tip of my tongue. Who played him in the Dark Knight trilogy? Of course, we had who again? I'm seeing
fucking Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman, and then who played him in the DCEU? Why am I forgetting his?
J.K. Simmons.
J.K. Simmons, yes. J.K. Simmons, Gary Oldman, yeah.
I think Harrison Ford is just way too old now.
And Jeffrey Wright right now in the Batman.
Plus, he's now Thaddeus Ross, and they're probably going to continue some bullshit with that. So he's probably not going to come in, and I think he's just too old. I think Jeffrey Wright's a good age. He's like in his 50s. But considering how they're going to have an older Batman that's like on the cut, like in between veteran and young Batman, I think you could maybe make him like mid to late 60s. I think that would work. That would be something interesting with that, like that age range. But I just think Harrison Ford's a little bit too old, and I don't think he relatively wants to do another comic book thing unless it interests him money-wise, because that's how he kind of is mostly. He's like, I wouldn't do anything for money, but it certainly helps. That's kind of how Harrison Ford takes kind of movies now. I don't know if he'll do it. I don't think he'll do it, but like, it is funny because like allegedly Tim Burton said he was on the short list to be Batman back in '89. So that could have been
a very different world that we would be living in today.
I fucking love that interview because Josh Horowitz was doing like on the, he wasn't on his podcast. He was like doing an interview like face to face with him. And he was like, so, the internet always doing fake stuff. It's like, I just want to clarify this with you. Did you know that, like, well, apparently Tim Burton says, like, or somebody said that you were supposed to be Batman in the 1989 film. Did you know about this? What are your thoughts? He's like, oh God, I could have had a career. Like, just like the fucking, just very most Harrison Ford answer. I love him in interviews because you can
his
tell
sense of
like
humor is
everyone like kind of
underrated.
confused him as like their curmudgeon-y asshole when he's
Mhm.
really not. He's just so dry with his humor that we think he's just being in it. That would be really good. Ethan Hawke for Commissioner Gordon. Let's do it. But that would be so he's
and
just
then
super
Caleb,
dry and it's
dude,
just great.
and then Caleb adding, just the icing on the cake, because then you can bring in Maya Hawke as Batgirl. That would be just the perfectly natural fit. Like it works. It's actually, you know what? That is
Even
a really
though
underrated casting.
okay, I have to be technical. In the original continuity, she wasn't biologically his daughter. He adopted her from his brother and his wife, who like died in a car accident. So technically, it's his adopted daughter, but it would be his niece. But then in the New 52, it made it so that she was his biological daughter. It's like a whole thing. So, like, yeah, you can make it biological, but like, why would you do that? You know? Who should
No, but
play Batman?
here's the thing,
James
though.
Gunn. I would want James Gunn to play Batmite. I want
Batman.
James Gunn to play Batmite. He
He
is
would
the
do it
only
too.
person who
He would
should play
totally do
Batmite.
it. He would totally do it. No, but I mean, hey, I think Maya Hawke and Ethan Hawke as Commissioner Gordon, and then Barbara Gordon, that would be inspired casting, I think. Let's now have the Steven comment kind of take us out tonight. CinemaCon is coming up now. We've talked about it at length over many episodes leading up to what is finally going to be CinemaCon week, starting on Monday. So Monday through Friday is going to be CinemaCon next week, and Tuesday is when Warner Brothers will have their presentation, which we're expecting some Superman related announcements, maybe even a trailer, potentially that first 5 minutes that we might be getting before Minecraft, or maybe they might do a whole surprise screening of the movie for all the attendees. So we might actually have a real screening to talk about. But Steven asking question, John and Dan, do you have any CinemaCon predictions for next week? So John, what are your thoughts? Do you think DC Studios will make a splash in Vegas? And what are your predictions, as Steven has asked here, for CinemaCon? I mean, you can say the ones for Warner Brothers and Superman, but if you want to go beyond that for any of the other studios, like, what are you most excited to see? Do you think we're gonna get Amazon?
I don't really know enough about
James Bond.
I don't know enough about CinemaCon. I don't know who's gonna be. The only thing I know is Superman. That's the only thing I know. That's like, and like WB is having like a general presentation, and Superman is like going to be one of the things. So I don't know what's gonna be there and what's not. So like, I can't really make like a proper prediction, I guess, because I don't know enough. So I'll just say with the thing I do know, and that's Superman. And I think we're going to be getting, I've said this for the past couple weeks now, once it was confirmed that they are going to do a Superman thing at CinemaCon, is that CinemaCon is going to be getting like a trailer and maybe like a 5-minute sneak peek. They're not going to show the movie. I know Marvel, I think they're showing Thunderbolts there. I could be wrong about that, but that's like the rumor right now. So I think that the people at CinemaCon are going to be getting a trailer and maybe a clip. We aren't going to be getting that trailer until Superman Day, which is April 18th. That's my prediction. I could be wrong. We could be getting it same day or like a day later, but that's my prediction so far.
Okay. By the way, before I answer the question, a couple other comments came in. Caleb apparently responded to that Magneto comment with a, typical Caleb sarcasm. Let's make Bruce Wayne poor, or Superman who snaps people's necks. Oh wait, okay, they didn't make Bruce Wayne poor outside of like the story of The Dark Knight Rises, which I think it made sense for the story. And I wholly disagree with you. Superman didn't just, you can just say out of context he snapped Zod's neck. But let's be honest, Superman kills Zod in a much more appalling way in the original Christopher Reeve Superman movies than he did in the Man of Steel movie. Which
actually he survived in
did he? Whatever, I don't care.
TV cut.
But as far as Man of Steel, whatever, it's not the one that everybody remembers from the movie theaters. But Man of Steel, I've said it many a times, like it was either that or the guy was gonna kill like the whole family, and it was also another Kryptonian, so it's not like he was just wriggling around just another human being. So it was like he's either that or you have to snap his neck. But anyway, Caleb, I digress on that matter. Enterprising saying I thought Hugo Weaving would be up for it. Hugo Weaving would be a great Commissioner Gordon and a more off type casting, but I would love to see him, and he would be an interesting choice. For
Yeah,
Enterprise.
I think that would be really good. And he wouldn't wear like tons of prosthetics, which he
Yeah.
didn't really like when he played Red Skull. So I think he'd be more into that.
Yeah. Yep. Enterprising saying, I like the idea of Peter Dinklage as Dr. Psycho or Hugo Strange. Angelica joining in late. Sorry, Angelica, we've been live for like a long time now, but hey.
2 hours and 2 minutes.
Be kind and rewind for sure. And check out the rest of the show. But if you have any questions and comments, Angelica, you can drop them down in the comments once we finish the show. But my predictions, John, is speaking of CinemaCon, here's what I will say. Superman, I think what we're going to get next week, given that they've been already marketing publicly the first 5 minutes, a sneak peek. I don't actually think they said first 5 minutes. They just said 5 minute sneak peek of Superman before Minecraft when it comes out in theaters. I don't think it's gonna be only in Thailand. If it's gonna be in Thailand, it's gonna be everywhere. Everywhere where you're gonna go to see Minecraft, you'll get that 5 minutes of Superman ahead of it. So given that that's already on the horizon, I think that's what we're going to get at CinemaCon. They're probably going to bring out the cast. James Gunn will probably be there. I'm not so sure about Peter Safran, but I think we're going to see a panel at CinemaCon. They're going to talk about the movie. We might get a new poster. We might get some stills, maybe a featurette, but then we'll get the 5 minutes. And as far as what the public will get, like you said, we might get the featurette or some kind of like maybe a new trailer. The 5 minutes, though, I bet you they're going to save that for us to go to see it in the movie theater. Because that's the whole point of putting it ahead of Minecraft. I do not think we're getting a full screening for Superman. What they're more likely to screen next week is the Minecraft movie. So with that said, I think beyond that, what I'm excited about is like, are we going to get another trailer or maybe a surprise screening of Jurassic World from Universal? Is Lionsgate gonna be giving us another look or maybe a full screening of Ballerina? What about Amazon MGM for the first time as a studio showing up to CinemaCon? Maybe they will give us some news or potentially an announcement that there's a new James Bond movie coming out within the next year and a half or something like that. But they've also got a bunch of other projects they can talk about, new movies that are coming out to theaters within the next year. So that would be exciting. So I know Disney is probably going to play either Lilo or Stitch or Thunderbolts, or if they don't give us a full screening, we're probably getting new trailers or behind the scenes looks at those movies. So that's a big one. And then Sony, I maybe we get something for one of their Spider-Man movie. I don't think they're gonna have any cameras rolling on Spider-Man 4, but they could talk about it because it will be within the next year that movie comes out. So maybe Tom Holland shows up. That could be interesting. Maybe we finally get an update, a trailer for the third and final Spider-Verse movie. That would be something I'd look out for.
Mm-hmm.
Who am I missing at this point? I feel like I've talked about all the big studios. Warner Brothers, Sony, Disney, Paramount. Okay. Paramount will most likely give us another look. Maybe they'll give us a few minutes, maybe a whole screening of Mission Impossible. That's probably the big focus of their presentation. They always do a great presentation. So yeah, between all of these studios, guys, let us know down below, what are your predictions for CinemaCon? I think for Superman, it's unlikely we get the whole movie screened, but we're probably getting at least a trailer, if not the 5 minutes that they're going to show to all the people who go to see Minecraft. But that 5 minutes is not going to make it out to the public. It's probably going to be something you have to wait to go see it in the theater when you go to see Minecraft. That's the whole reason why they're going to put it in front of Minecraft. A full trailer, though, would be fantastic. That most likely ends up on YouTube as soon as it's released to CinemaCon. So I'm very, very excited for that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Caleb, Spider-Verse 3 is happening, my friend. It is happening, and I expect to hear about it next week. Yeah, and Enterprising is like, on anything Sony right now. Well, hey, you know what? Sony is getting in the business of the Legend of Zelda franchise, and to bring us full circle, Legend of Zelda is probably something that we might get some more news on next week as well. John Hamm in the corner office could be Jim Gordon. I've actually seen it. I agree with you, Caleb.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last one, an update. Dude, the Power Rangers movie update and the last one, an update from Paramount Enterprising. Good shout. I you know what? That could be great. That could be great. And no, Caleb, I don't think we're getting a Morbius 2 announcement. I don't think that's.
What about Morbius Kills God?
You have no idea how happy I would be. I would be looking for that sock if they did announce Morbius Kills God, because that would be fantastic. That would make my year not make my day, a week, or month. It would make my year if they announced that. But hey, you know what? If there's any other surprises, which they're bound to be, as there are every year, especially from DC, we'll be here talking about it on Tuesday. But we are back on Monday to talk about whatever gets announced by, I forget who's presenting on Monday, if there are any presentations. I'm sure we'll have a better schedule that we can talk about. The schedule's already out, actually. You can go to CinemaCon's website and look at the schedule of events. We're going to discuss it in more detail when we come back on Monday. So be sure to check that out. You'll be back with the news. We'll be here with some movie reviews, and as well as, of course, all the latest from the world of DC and the DCU, DC Studios, and everything Detective Comics. We'll be here with you guys. Have a fantastic weekend ahead. Go and watch a movie in a movie theater. Support your local movie theater, and then
watch Ash if it's still in your theater. It's amazing. Go fucking watch it.
Liz loved it. John loved it. I have to now check it out because they've just convinced me at this point. But hey, there's a bunch of new movies coming out, guys. And
watch Alto Nights.
Fuck it. If you hate yourself or if you were just curious, then go watch Snow White. I mean, apparently it's not Snow White. Terrible. It's but it's also not great. So yeah, I mean, what's the new movie this week that's coming out? What did we talk about? Was there another one?
I know Death of the Unicorn. Literally,
okay.
Literally, all of my friends just saw it, and they all said it was fucking terrible.
Oh, guys, go watch A Working Man this weekend.
Gotta have a working man. I'm the fucking barista. Did you order the fucking latte? I called your name twice. I'm the janitor. Told you to walk around the floor. You walked on top of the floor.
I cannot wait. Oh my god.
I'm not just the beekeeper. God. I'm the beekeeper too.
Angelica asking, do you think they're gonna play Final Destination at CinemaCon? That's very possible. Actually, I didn't even think about it. I mean, given how popular the trailer was, they might have changed plans and be like, fuck it, we're just gonna drop this here. Let's build up the hype. So yeah, that's a very good idea. Morbius versus Kraven, Dawn of Web. I think that probably takes the title for the worst crossover possible ever. Maybe never. Let's not do that ever. But yeah, okay, guys, go watch A Working Man and go watch all the other movies in a movie theater. We'll be back here on Monday to talk about them. Liz will be back next week. John was going to be here with us, of course. I will be here with you guys. And we'll have a packed week of news from CinemaCon as well as everything else going on in the world of Hollywood. So we'll be back to talk about it next week. Have a great weekend. John, thank you again. And we'll see you guys on another episode of DCU Daily.